Hello and welcome to yet another edition of The Spotlight, bringing to you a story that ignites change. Now in Sri Lanka, we often talk about industries playing important roles in the market. However, today we will be talking about an industry which is a backbone of the economy in Sri Lanka, not just in the country but in the global market as well. So today I have with us three seasoned veterans from the industry, that is from the freight forwarding and logistics sector here in Sri Lanka, to talk to us on the importance and the value of this industry. So first, on my left, I have with me the chairman of SLFFA, that is Mr. Channa Gunawardena, director and CEO of XP Logics Private Limited, right here on my left. And we also have the vice chairman of the association, Mr. Fernando, managing director of MAC Holdings Private Limited. And also on my extreme left, we have the treasurer of SLFFA, that is Mr. Shavindra, managing director of Four-Way Logistics Private Limited. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me today. And so today's conversation is all things logistics and freight forwarding. So I would like to propose and pose my first question to the chairman. I think our audience would like to hear a brief overview on what this sector is all about.
Yeah, I'm sure any layman is familiar about the shipping industry. When you say shipping, it recalls ships.
Yes.
You say some recall aircrafts. So those are the broad industries a layman is aware of. When I say layman, anybody who's not specifically involved in the shipping and logistics. So the freight forwarder is an intermediary. That's a middleman. Right, so our role is facilitating the trade, shipping between an say exporter and importer, and the shipping line airline, who ultimately carries the cargo. So freight forwarder essentially is as I said, is a middleman. We generally don't own assets, unlike the shipping lines and airlines. The difference again is that when it comes to a shipping line, they specialize on cargo which is carried by ocean freight, or in other words via sea routes. Airlines, they predominantly focus on cargo which is being carried by air. So we offer services encompassing all of that.
Right.
So that's why as you at the beginning itself, as you very correctly mentioned, it's a very, very important industry. That's why we call it as a backbone of the global trade. Because we in our service portfolio, we offer all those, including combined transportation, which is a combination of sea, air, and even haulage. By the way, we offer trucking services also, and then lot of gamut of services. So that's essentially, in a nutshell, what freight forwarding is.
Right. So I would ask our vice chairman here of the association, sir. Let's talk about the association as a whole. What do you all do? What is the work that you all do, your objectives?
Okay, we started the association in 1981 with a very little membership. Now we have 175 members. We look after the goodwill, good name, and the functioning of the industry. We try to assist the government as well whenever possible in forming various processes, rules, regulations, minimum criteria, etc. And we try hard to basically keep this united bunch of forwarders a team and carry our business while we are doing so.
Thank you for that answer. Mr. Shavindra, as the treasurer, what do you think the role is of the association in the Sri Lanka, in our country and in the market of the association?
Yeah, basically it's very important that the logistics sector to a country, because that keeps moving in and out all the cargo and the services, which is important function where it is foreign revenue comes in and then the trade is facilitated. So in that context, the logistics sector is, I would say, does a very important aspect where we connect the globe with the exporters and importers, and through our networks individually here. So we will take cargo from A to Z, that is from Sri Lanka to any other country, as well as from any other country to Sri Lanka, vice versa. So I would say SLFFA and the logistics, as well as for Sri Lanka, if you take, we are going ahead with a logistic drive at the moment. We have very important place in the geographically placed, and then with all these things, we played a very important role. The logistics will play a very important role time to come in the development of Sri Lanka.
Now, since its inception in 1981, gentlemen, how do you think the association has evolved? Let's start with you.
Well, if you go back to 19, I'm not so old though, but hearing from the veterans in the industry who have been there and who are still actively involved one way or the other with the industry, what I hear is that it had its humble beginnings, limited to a certain scope of services. But I think even internationally also, freight forwarding has evolved towards the latter part of, say, maybe more towards the 20th century, or even maybe latter part of 1990s. Initially, I guess it was more on the ocean freight, predominantly the freight forwarding, the pure carriage from point to a point. So I think that was the case till about 1990s and so on. I started my career back in 1995, so that's what I can recall. So it was basic services then. Then with the evolvement of the trade and the requirements of the customers becoming more complex, freight forwarding has evolved into a lot of other intangible services like giving visibility for your purchase orders, tracking, and then it has now evolved into digital platforms where you have these digital, so-called digital freight forwarders, where you do your booking online. They don't own assets, anything. They just offer a platform at a cost. So that was the evolvement. Now it is, of course, more technology based also. So I see a lot of AI and data analytics getting involved. So it has evolved, I think, parallel to the trade. It is evolved in parallel to the requirements of the customers. So we were, as an industry, not only internationally, locally also, we were able to serve, we were able to keep on par with the requirements of the trade, which is important.
Before so adding on to Chairman's comments, so when we commenced business, or when we started our careers, we never had carriers owning freight companies at that time. But today the business has also evolved, where the top shipping lines are now invested into logistics and freight companies, which is a totally different market altogether.
I mean, if you take SLFFA, how we have evolved. So basically, initially, as Chairman said, it's a set of freight forwarders who have started this. But now, if you take now, SLFFA has gone beyond that. We do have SLFFA Cargo Services, which is our business arm, and then we have another arm which is mainly focusing on the education. So we have also, I would say, identified the importance of not just the association, but we have looked at the other aspect where we can add value to the country and to the people of Sri Lanka.
Mr. Andre, let's talk about the membership structure. You all have over 170 companies. It's not just 5 to 10 companies. Let's talk about the importance of having such a large membership and the importance of this. I think people need to know that it goes beyond just having an average membership structure. It's 170 companies we are talking about. So what are your thoughts on this?
So the 175 members, exactly as at today, we have brought to them, various, standards. So as an example, I can't exactly remember the year that we implemented it, but now we implemented that all our member companies has to have a minimum paid up capital,
right.
That it has to have a proper office complex to do business in, and not forgetting we have to have a standardized insurance policy to carry on business. Whereas in the good old days, anybody could take up the job of a freight forwarder and do it. So we kind of got together with the assistance of the government, that is the Ministry of Shipping and Aviation, to make sure that this regulation is brought forward into the industry, and that is to ensure that the shippers who ship through us or import through us have a service exceeding their expectations. And in case they fall into trouble, then there are always these insurance policies and etc. for them to fall back on. Because in the past, there was cases where there would have been people who had several past bad experience. And now we are able to mitigate this as an industry.
Definitely. Now, one might say, Mr. Channa, that what is the benefit of being a member of your association, or how would you answer this?
Well, very good question. So it goes back to the objectives of our association. So if I'll take you through some of our very important objectives that we have. So as I think Andre already touched upon it, the very first objective talks about standardizing and of course professionalizing the industry, the players. So when you say professionalizing, it ensures, apart from what he has mentioned, there are certain accreditations are required for you to become a member of SLFFA. And even though there is no requirement in our country, any company to be a freight forwarder, you have to be a member of the association. In other countries, it is the case.
Right.
So, for example, when somebody from overseas who wants to strike up a partnership with somebody in Sri Lanka, one of the first things they still look for is whether you are a member of the local freight forwarding association. Right. So that recognition, even though it's not a necessity as at now in Sri Lanka, that's a necessity for somebody. So anybody who's member of the association right now has an edge. That has become because that's to do with the credibility of the association. And then of course we do a lot of value additions to members, starting from capacity building. We have our own academy, which is providing professional qualification which is equal to bachelor's. It is endorsed by UNESCO, endorsed by the FATA, which is the Federation of International Freight Forwarders Association, endorsed by IATA, and that is again it is a CBTA, that is competency based training assessment, CBTA endorsed training. So you don't get it unless you are a member. So any, as the Vice Chairman and the Treasurer touched upon, so by virtue of being a member, you have the choice of gaining those qualifications, exposure. So that's what we bring into the industry as the association. So if you're a non-member,
you don't get those benefits.
I'm not trying to discriminate anybody, but
no, definitely.
That's a fact,
Yes. So I would ask our Treasurer here today, are there any affiliated bodies that you work with as an association? And how do they contribute to the mission of the association?
We do have, as Chairman said, basically we are a part of FATA, and then basically we are registered with them because that is a global body of the logistics. And then we in Sri Lanka, we are part of Shippers Council, we are part of with Chambers, we are in affiliation with JAF, and then we are member of FAPA, it's another international body. So basically those affiliations with global bodies and local bodies will give us the trends that the global trend which is changing time to time, that we will get ourselves educated on those things, and then we can share those information with our membership, and then we do training according to those their requirements, the global requirements. We do training, we conduct training to make sure our members are up to date with the global trends, to them to keep that the global recognition to be get. So that is what we do with the affiliations.
You mentioned that as an association you all have an academy for education, providing students with somewhat like a bachelor's level sort of education. I want to know, Mr. Channa, and of course a collective answer would be brilliant on this. We see in terms of education many mushroom institutes coming up, providing many sorts of degrees, many sorts of educational qualifications, but the question is, are all of these real? Is there any sort of value? And also in terms of logistics and freight forwarding, we don't see much of a how would I phrase it, many opportunities in terms of education, and students sometimes have a difficulty in choosing which education or qualification should I choose from the correct organization? So you all offer this degree. Is it open to, or as you mentioned, if you are not a member, it might not be a possibility. But do you think will that be open for any student who wants to head into the field?
Yeah, let me correct that phrase. Actually, it is open. What I meant is that by being a member of the association, you can get certain benefits when you are commencing your program.
Right.
So we have started offering scholarships and also, but this particular program actually it consists of 3 stages: the certificate stage, the intermediary, and of course the FATA diploma, which is the one which is equivalent to a bachelor's.
Right.
So answer your question, as I believe from even in any case in private education, there's no regulatory body or somebody who really monitors what the private institutes are offering, which is common to even freight forwarding also. So that's being said, what we bring to the table, what AIT brings to the table is the professional angle of it. Right. So while I'm not trying to downplay what is outside here, but those are more academic type of qualifications. But having said that, again, those are not I'm not saying those are inferior or anything.
Yeah.
But when you are choosing, it's important that you look at the contents and see how relevant it is, the content and the area that you study. You need to go into detail and see how relevant it is. Now, for example, we interview so many people coming out from various institutes. Sometimes when we interview, what we realize is that there are certain basic questions that we ask at the inception. Unfortunately, some of these students cannot answer. So it's not a question of their intellectual capability or their inability to grasp or anything. It's just that they have not been focused proper on those basic stuff. So what happens is that you are maybe equipped with a bachelor's from a well reputed institute or whatever, but then you're not able to answer the fundamentals, means those are not being properly addressed.
Yeah.
Now, in our case, it's not that, and somehow, if you look at our panel, our AIT Academy is headed by the current chairman of the Chartered Shipbrokers, which is the highest it can get over here. So it's a charter body. So we ensure that our panel of lecturers are people who are in the industry now. The gentleman who's heading our AIT is a CEO of a shipping line here. And then the panel are hands-on people in the industry. Some are CEOs, some are very high, holding very high positions. So the stuff they put out there is of high quality. So I think naturally the material which is coming out from our academy is, I would say, better or
no, definitely. It's important that especially a lot of people think, no offense, but people think sometimes you only need the academic aspect of things. But I think in terms of logistics and freight forwarding, you need a bit of a professional approach as well. Absolutely. So to have individuals and especially individuals in the panel who have hands-on experience and who are also seasoned veterans, I think adds much more value to the degree. So just to reconfirm, it's open to students if anyone wants to.
Yeah, it is open. We have different, we have people coming from government institutes like the Ceylon Railway getting involved and studying. So that's the extreme it gets. So we have other people who are coming in from different industries.
Yeah. We also give some scholarships as well, I think.
Right.
Yeah. So every year, how many? 5?
Yeah, at highest it gets at 5.
5.
But then we take the call, whether if it depends on the batch, we can expand.
So even scholarships offered, which is absolutely brilliant for all the free. Because a lot of people, as I mentioned, yes, of course, it's the backbone of the economy, but some people don't talk enough about this. I
think that's where we come to the picture. I don't know whether we talk enough, because the affiliation to FATA is the Federation of International Freight Forwarding Association. So you are being endorsed by the global highest body, and this is headquarters in Switzerland, and I think as far as logistics, that's the highest it can get. I am not too sure, I may be wrong in saying that, maybe these gentlemen can add. I am not sure whether any other qualification is endorsed with such a professional body.
Yeah.
It's like the, chartered,
Chartered Institute of Marketing,
Marketing,
or
exactly.
CIMA equivalent of our industry.
Right. So now these students who come into the academy, once they pass out, do you all offer additional professional support to the students in finding jobs, job opportunities and recruitment?
Absolutely. We do give scholarships, meaning we do give 10 years, short 10 years to basically then to get on-job training.
Right.
And if they want to stay on any longer and build a career with our organization, we as a company have been doing it, and I know many other of our fellow membership has been doing the same things. In fact, we don't curtail it only to our own thing. I think if you look at programs from the Moratu University or KDU, there are sometimes requests to give these people internship,
Right.
and we never say no. We bend our back to ensure that we give these young people a lot of opportunities. And this is the first time I think we are actually going in front of the camera and talking.
I think you all are doing a very good job at it.
So in the past, I think we as an association have been not in the limelight. My two colleagues could also add into this. We have not been in the limelight, but we intend to change this because we want to change the perception of our organization, that is SLFFA. We want to change the perception of our companies, and it is actually, one could say we can live without a freight forwarder, but I don't think it's possible because there is so much of things that we do. It is not only carrying goods from point A to point B. We provide a lot of information systems in, I believe, in terms of, the purchase orders, in what they procure, upstream, downstream. It's a rather complicated process that we do, which I don't think general organizations would be able to survive.
No, even I think as a media sometimes yes, of course we cover a range of issues, but going into the complexities is not something that we see from the freight forwarding industry. So that's important that we talk about it. So I would like to ask a question from our treasurer and gentleman. Please feel free to add in, as it was a global outbreak that we had to endure. Now Sri Lanka also had to experience our part in the COVID-19 pandemic. Before that we had the Easter bomb attack, and then of course the pandemic, and then we had the economic crisis which followed in. These three situations thoroughly affected Sri Lanka, and it also affected the global economy. And considering that freight forwarding and logistics is a global supply chain that we're talking about, I'm sure the industry was heavily affected. How did you all come out of this crisis, and how was it affected?
I'll start off by saying that during these three crises, logistics was never stopped in a single day. We were in operation. Right.
Even during the pandemic?
Even during the pandemic. During the pandemic, we were the front runners who took an entire burden of the country to bring all the medicine, all the equipment, everything, to take it to Sri Lanka, as well as whatever the things that was manufactured here to take it to all the destinations to get the very important vital dollars to Sri Lanka.
So while we were running during the pandemic,
I would
you all were the ones making things happen for us.
Just to add to what the treasurer mentioned, see, this is the difference. When you say logistics is a big word.
Definitely.
Right? So it talks of the freight part of it, the haulage part of it, the transportation part of it, the customs clearance, you name it. So whether you are shipping out from A country, B country or whatever, that process remains same. So you have to execute that. It's not like carrying one parcel on a ship and one parcel on an airline. So we were instrumental in starting from the vaccines. Right? The vaccines do not get loaded into aircraft without the customs formalities. So all our it's not only us, all our partners across the globe, entire network was working, with limited resources, ensure that the vaccines are on board the aircrafts. When it comes, it has to go into cooling, it has to go to customs. Mind you, the customs are not functioning properly. I mean, with due respect, it was not possible at that time. So luckily it was all online. So we managed to bring out, and as you very correctly said, all our manufacturers here, apparel manufacturers, started manufacturing the personal protective equipment, the PPEs. So who came to the...
That was
done by a lot of our leading apparel manufacturers. You know, we are good at changing our game according to the requirement, right? That's something that we inherit in our country. So all these companies quickly moved into PPE manufacturing. Then who came to the front to airlift those goods? Our members. And there were like few of our members, few companies who volunteered, put down money, thousands and thousands of dollars, booked aircrafts, put their money in, brought the aircrafts in, and we uplifted. And then through that only we got the dollars back to the country. So what you see out there is a result of what these people do. I think.
So, and I also think the reason that we are bounced back even fast is, I think, also thanks to
the logistics. Not only here, globally.
Globally. Brilliant. So as we have to head into our first break, we ask you to remain with us as we have much more things to talk about. Remain with us and we will be back. Welcome back to the show this evening, and we are talking about all things freight forwarding and logistics right here on the Spotlight. So I would first like to ask you a question, Mr. Channa. As a country, what more can we do to enhance the facilities of the freight forwarding and logistics sector in Sri Lanka?
Yes, something which comes to my mind, I'm going to get a little technical here. I'll much as possible, I'll explain in a language that everybody can understand. So, there are a lot of value additions. Now, I'll first come into the point of we being a hub. I think that's something everybody understands. Being situated in the western sea routes, we are a very important geographical location, and by virtue of being that, we inherent advantages where we can give value-added services where hubbing can be done. Hubbing means you bring cargo from multiple origins into Sri Lanka and then you add value and ship it to different destinations. So for us to do that, you need to have infrastructure either inside the port, or if you are talking about air freight, inside the airport, or the government has to allow facilities outside. So right now that's an area which needs a lot of improvement. That's where SLFFA has been at the forefront along with some of the other progressive associations highlighting this point, because if you look at what's happening in the shipping liner business, which everybody talks of, I'm sure a lot of people are reading material about the container throughput in the port, which has gone up and we are making good money. At the same time, if you look at the last few months, our transshipment volumes, which is, as you know, the 80% of the revenue of the Sri Lanka ports are coming from transshipment cargo, meaning cargo which are originating from India, Bangladesh and so on, which comes here on shipping lines and then again loaded to another ships and be moved out. So there's substantial income made on those. But as far as the shipping line concerned, but what's happening right now in the region is that there are a lot of other ports coming up, like Visinjam, which is in India, a lot of ports coming up in Bangladesh, a lot of private investment. So we are being threatened as much as there's a large opportunity with the growing economies like Bangladesh, India. We have a threat there. So that's the very reason that we should be prioritizing our logistics capabilities, not only on shipping. So we are building terminals inside the port, we are investing, foreign investments are there, but what can be done inside the port is something that we need to focus fast, because otherwise we are losing that much of potential in that particular area. So that's one area. As well as at the airport also, we can do a lot of transshipments. We are waiting till the recommencement of the airport expansion project. We have submitted a blueprint, a very clear plan to the Airport and Aviation Services Limited, to the government, how it needs to be done. So that's where SLFFA comes in, and those to summarize, the infrastructure facilities has to come up fast, and we have even shown interest in investing those some time back.
Ms. Channa, does Sri Lanka have a long way to go in terms of electronic shipping? So can we go paperless?
The answer is yes, and I will tell you, I think we discussed COVID time, how business was conducted during the COVID time. I think COVID times actually helped us to basically digitalize our business. So there was quite a bit of paperless related activities that took place, and which basically helped us in terms of saving time, maybe reducing costs, etc., etc. But there is a lot more to go. Then when I say a lot more to go is because we may be ready as the logistics industry, but we need to also upscale the knowledge of our customers, shippers, external bodies like banks, customs, BOI, you name it. So we need to definitely do a lot more to basically get them up to speed. But paperless is definitely possible.
Thank you for that answer. Now, Mr. Shavindra, as a treasurer of the association, do you feel that there is scope for improvements in the logistics sector to be completely cashless, to have cashless payments?
It is important, it is possible. So I'll just take you through few areas where what are the stakeholders of the when it comes to a logistic. We'll take one example for a shipment. So we have Sri Lanka Customs, Port Authority, it can be airport aviation, then we have banks, then we have BOI, exporters, importers, then we have 30 to 40 government or semi-government departments or institutions who are part of it, such as like SLSI and then Tea Board, Coconut Board, all those things. So there are a lot of stakeholders are there. So just imagine one of our shipments, we are taking cash from one place to another place, is quite a bit of a task to do that. So it is important that we go cashless. That will help us to fasten the services to the end customer. Just imagine that we take cash or check or whatever it is and goes and we have to deposit those things. It takes time. Now we can do it bank transfer because the COVID has taught those things to us. So it's very simple, right? So bank transfer, it goes straight away. There is no, I would say what will reduce is that the security of the transaction is very important. That will come up with the cashless. And then we have the convenience to operate and less time consuming. Those things will be there. I can explain it in detail if it is wrong. And then the effectiveness here, and then it will be specifically cost effective. And then we have zero corruption, because we have seen sometimes you give for 160 payment, you give 200 and you don't get the 40 back. There's corruption, supporting corruption. So there will be zero corruption, and then reduction of the total time spent on single process, and then very importantly, we are aligning with the global. So global is going cashless. So we have to go. If we want to fight with global, we have to go cashless. That is the name of the game. Very simple.
Right. So very briefly, if I ask your gentleman, what is this national single window? Before we head into an interesting part of our conversation, what is this all about?
Well, national single window is not something unique to Sri Lanka, as you may probably know. It's a portal which is globally adapted. Most of the countries. I'm not saying it is across all over the world, but if you look at most of the countries is adapted. It is a platform where all the parties for a particular transaction. The transaction means, let's say a shipper has export shipment which needs to go from say Colombo to say Los Angeles. So the parties involved are naturally the exporter, the party who's providing the carriage, which is airline or a shipping line. Let's say assume this is a shipping freight forwarder this time. So the freight forwarder, then if it is going on ocean, the shipping line, then the Sri Lankan customs. Then if it's an apparel shipment, say you have to get the approvals of the relevant authorities. If it's a tea shipment, you have to get the tea board approvals. So there are then the banks, and so you have the stakeholders, right? So right now what's happening is that without a national single window, one platform, a lot of data submissions and document submissions to these institutes happen in isolation.
Right.
And there's a lot of duplication. Right. So what national single window facilitates is a one platform where all are enabled single submissions, and it is visible. Visibility is there. so that there is no duplication and the processing time is that much faster and at a cost. It comes at a cost. So that's national single window, that's why it is called national single window. It happens over a period of time. So if, for example, all your stakeholders, let's say you have 15 in a particular shipment related, it doesn't mean that you need to get all 10, 15 allowed inside one go. So sometimes some countries, if you look at even in our region, some maybe 50% of those institutes are aligned, some are not. So that's what national single window is all about. I mean, national single window discussion started back about 16 or 14 years ago.
Right.
It is very slow to pick up. Thankfully, I think during the last 5-6 months there was a traction with the National Trade Facilitation Committee, which we are a part of. We are actively involved at the highest level of discussions, and we have been lobbying for it over a period of time. So I feel probably with this election time is over, it will again, the due focus will be given. So sum it up, national single window is a simple platform where everything can be submitted, everything is visible. It basically expedites the shipment processing.
Right. So as I mentioned, the association is heading and gearing up for a very exciting and a very important night, and that is the awards night. So what is the purpose of this, gentlemen, for the association?
So this was a brainchild of our one of our former chairmen. I think we started in 2022.
First awards
It was 2022.
Actually, brainchild is here with us.
Yeah. Oh,
It was actually
he was one of the members.
One of the people who strongly believed in that. I just want to add to what Andre mentioned is that why we thought it was during one of our past chairmen, Roshan Silva's time, which was the idea was mooted. It came through after the COVID, because we also realized that it's we who are at the forefront, and there should be a platform where we recognize not only the freight forwarders but all the people who were part of it. So that's how it was.
Industry veterans. So I think there is a scheme where basically we nominate the industry veterans. Then we select, maybe we get the applicants to basically apply, maybe the best shipping line, the best airline, the best express company, and so on and so forth. So there is multiple amount of awards.
Right, under various categories.
Under various categories. And then there is a screening panel which consists of independent judges, and that's where they screen who is the winner. So I would actually like to let our treasurer do more of the talking, because he's the man of the game, and he would be able to elaborate much better than me or Channa.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you, Channa, thank you, Andre. So basically, it was Roshan Silva who brought this idea to me, and then it was Peter Jaising also was a part of that initially, and then it came to my shoulder. So I mean, it was new to us, so we had to start it from scratch. Going with the application, the criteria to find funding for that, and people to believe in this. I mean, like, people doesn't want to share information with regard to this when you're doing the what do you call selection criteria submission. So we had to let people believe in this. So it took a couple of years to actually to take it for where it is. And then in 2022. We had the first National Logistics Awards, and then, I mean, I would say there was so much of people who were behind it. It is not, I mean, just a couple of people. I mean, the executive committee, entire executive was behind us, so they were going, I mean, like, I can remember, Channa, if you can remember, we have to do how many times we have to do with the getting on the application, formalities done, because application itself was so much of tough to
to filter it out would have been difficult.
Mind you, you're conducting a national level,
and
there are certain criteria that you have to fulfill. You can't, when you were even using, we were contemplating actually one time whether we can actually use the word national. So that discussion also took like a couple of meetings. We spoke a lot of people who we should be talking. And got a very good idea of when you are conducting a national level award ceremony, what criteria you have to meet.
Very simple. What we want is, actually, after COVID, we thought it's very important that we recognize these people who have done their hard yards. Not only during the COVID, but starting from way back,
From the inception.
we have been a trading hub, and so we have to recognize this. So there were so much of people who have been very silent and have been doing so much of things, who are earning foreign revenue to Sri Lanka, and so that was the main
idea of it.
And I would say it has started somewhere in 2019 and ended up as the first platform in 2022, and we are again going for the second edition of that. So I think chairman and vice chairman will be able to give the
I just want to briefly ask now, once a winner is selected from the category, now most often, I'm not saying it happens in this association, but many companies just use an award for the purpose of fame and just to boost your sales. But I think talking to the three of you all, I understand that most of the association, most of your goals are oriented into the interests of the public and for the country, because working during the pandemic with minimum resources and putting your lives at risk means something. So I want to know, with each winner in each category, what is the responsibility that this winning company will have throughout until the next winner is selected?
So you're being recognized. Now, if you look at the criteria, what is there in our selection is more. It's not more merely on the quantitative aspects of it. It's not only to do with the number of containers you handle, number of kilos you have carried, number of haulage trips you have done, or number of CBM or cubic measurement you hold in your warehouse, and not like that. So there are a lot of qualitative aspects, meaning what are your HR policies, what are your occupational health and safety, what are your sustainability initiatives. So that's where we have this very eminent panel of judges headed by a very seasoned campaigner, professor in our industry, related to our industry, and some academics. Our panel of judges consists of some of the top class professionals, deans of faculties. So they emphasize the fact that you need to put forward more qualitative aspects. So when you're putting, for example, if somebody says my occupational health and safety policy is this, and then based on that he wins an award, he must ensure that he maintains that, and then he kind of portray that in their day-to-day activities. OHS is one area, but of course there are others, like sustainability is a big word right now.
Yes.
So if somebody is scoring points on highlighting their sustainability, it should be visible when they are doing business. I mean, if you are
not using, just for the sake of promoting sustainability,
trucks which are like polluting the whole environment, you're not there. There
has to be visible action.
That has to be visible. I think it's a very valid point that you brought about. Actually, there's something we need to focus, maybe in years to come, how you keep getting a track of what's being promised, how it is being achieved. As this is the second time we are learning, evolving. Maybe you see a lot of these getting captured probably the next time around.
Right. So as time is ticking, and I think we have a few more minutes, I just want to touch upon as to how we all got into the field. Let's start with you.
Yeah. To be honest, when I got into, I never knew it was that I'm getting into freight forwarding, because I started working initially for a shipping line called Hogue Lines, which has been taken over by somebody else now. It's not more. It was part of the Haley's group. At that time, we were known as Maritime Holdings back in 1995. So I joined that particular shipping company, and then we were part of a group. Then there was another opportunity within a freight forwarding company inside the same group. That is by around 1996. So I was interviewed by the current managing director of our group.
Right.
And he said, look, this is a freight forwarding company. And I asked, so what is freight forwarding? So that was my knowledge. So then, then I got into air freight sales initially. Air freight was my area. Then moved on to ocean freight and so on. So I've been in the industry for what now? Maybe 28, 29 years.
Right.
That's how it all started.
So did you know that you were wanting to be in the industry?
Yes and no.
Yes and
My
no.
first job was actually as a management trainee at St. Anthony's. 2 months there. I was. My father fixed me the job, and I got really sick of it. Then my passion was to work in a airline or a shipping line because my girlfriend at that time was working for Gulf Air.
Right.
So I, some or other, through a help of a relative, I managed to get into Korean Airlines. But then again, it was only, it was not that much of active work. So when I realized that then this is just tying up in sitting in a counter, etc. One day we had a flight. Then I thought this is also not the job for me, and I went in to take an offer from a colleague of mine there in a freight company, worked for 2 years, and then started my own business. And in total, 33 years in the business.
Brilliant.
4 years of that was working for people, the rest of it is working for myself.
Perfect. What about you?
Total accident.
Total accident.
Exactly.
My goodness.
So basically 32 years in industry. So it was, basically at that time it was known to as, there was a name called port එකේ වැඩ කරනවා එහෙම නැත්නම් so that's something like that.
Yeah.
So basically I don't know, as Channa said, freight forwarding, when you say logistic, it was not logistic at that time.
At that time.
So then thought of, okay, I'll take the challenge and then worked there for a couple of years. Then sometime back then I thought like, yes, if I have to be in this industry, I have to study, I have to get the knowledge, because it was, as you said, as we discussed, there are so much of universities and things are there now to get educated, but at that time it was not. It was very, very few things. So I start learning the chartership brokers and then few things, and that's how
That's how you got into the field.
Yeah, exactly.
So in a few seconds, if I can ask you all, we are living in a different era, if many of us call it. I think we have many of the youth coming into the industry, the Gen Z as we call it. How do you all handle that era of children, or the youth? I can't say children, but youth coming in. Conflict of interest is there, the generational gap is there. How do you all handle it? In a few seconds, if you can tell me, gentlemen.
Tough to explain in a few seconds, but
Yeah.
what we focus, as far as the organization that I work for, I'm talking about not as an association here, organization. We felt that we kind of try to understand where they're coming from.
Right.
First of all, we realize they are different, and
Yeah.
we are trying to, within that scope, what we realize is that as long as you get the right candidate, the right Gen Z person on board, right, we give them a lot of leverage, a lot of new things to do, because they get, something that we realize is they get bored with the routine stuff quite often. And they come with a mindset of, if you look at our era, people were saying, including our parents, our lecturers, everybody say, you stick to one organization, be loyal, grow up, don't try to jump around. But the Gen Zs, which I don't find faults with them, they have been told by their lecturers and peers and all that, so you don't work for more than 3 years.
Yeah.
So that's the reality that we are in. So that means you need to give change, you need to give them that change within your organization. So what we are trying to, we are not mastered it yet. What we are trying to do is to give them that change, but then that's a challenge itself, because you can't be changing your job roles in our industry. So time will tell whether it will really work or not. Yeah.
From my side.
Yes, briefly.
Yeah, it's a challenge. All I can say is there's no shortcuts to building a career. And advice to the Gen Zs, it has to be a lot of hard work, commitment, and this industry, I think I had a chat with Channa, doesn't give you any shortcuts, because the days are long. Our contracts with our customers are not saying that work-life balance has to be there. So you got to work hard and then develop your career, in short words.
For me, it's very simple. I would say commitment, hard work and knowledge. That is what will take you to where you want to go. Simple as that. Whether it's Gen Z or anyone, that's what the simple thing what I believe in. So that is how it has to go.
All right, so that brings us to the end of this week's edition of the Spotlight. We had the core members and the core team from the Exco of SLFFA right here joining us to talk about all things logistics and freight forwarding. So gentlemen, thank you for joining me today.
Our pleasure.
And we're hoping that you all will speak more on this industry because there's so much to talk about.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
So wishing the three of you and the association nothing but the absolute best. And well, that concludes our session for today. Join us again next week, same time, same place for a story that will ignite change. Until we meet again, stay safe and have a pleasant night.